Good day, beautiful people. This is Natalie Silva with Life Treasures and Golden Moments, where I share with you true stories of miracles and stories of inspiration. Welcome back to my podcast, and a very Merry Christmas Eve to all of you out there, and also Happy Hanukkah. I hope everybody's doing well and enjoying the holidays and not wearing yourself out too much. Today I'd like to share a couple of stories with you before the month is over. And the first story is called The Gold Wrapping Paper. I'm sure some of you have heard it before, but it gives us something to think about. And I think the author is unknown. Once upon a time, there was a man who worked very hard to keep food on the table for his family. This particular year, a few days before Christmas, he punished his little 5-year-old daughter after learning that she had used up the family's only roll of expensive gold wrapping paper. As money was tight, he became even more upset when on Christmas Eve he saw the child had used all of the expensive gold paper to decorate one shoebox that she'd put under the Christmas tree. He also was concerned about where she had gotten money to buy what was in the shoebox. Nevertheless, the next morning, the little girl, filled with excitement, brought the gift box to her father and said, "This is for you, Daddy." As he opened the box, the father was embarrassed by his earlier overreaction, now regretting how he had punished her. But when he opened the shoebox, he found it was empty, and again his anger flared. "Don't you know, young lady," he said harshly, "when you give someone a present, there's supposed to be something inside the package." The little girl looked up at him with sad tears rolling from her eyes and whispered, "But Daddy, it's not empty. I blew kisses in it until it was all full." The father was crushed. He fell on his knees and put his arms around his precious little girl. He begged her to forgive him for his unnecessary anger. An accident took the life of the child only a short time later. It is told that the father kept that little gold box by his bed for all the years of his life. Whenever he was discouraged or faced difficult problems, he would open the box, take out an imaginary kiss, and remember the love of his beautiful child who had put it there. In a very real sense, each of us has been given an invisible golden box filled with unconditional love and kisses from our children, our family, our friends, and God. There is no more precious possession anyone could hold. The next story is called Christmas 1881, and the author is also unknown. It was Christmas Eve, 1881. I was 15 years old and feeling like the world had caved in on me because there just hadn't been enough money to buy me the rifle that I wanted for Christmas. We did the chores early that night for some reason. I just figured Pa wanted a little extra time so we could read the Bible. And after supper was over, I took my boots off and stretched out in front of the fireplace and waited for Pa to get down the old Bible. I was feeling sorry for myself, and to be honest, I wasn't much in the mood to read scriptures. But Pa didn't get the Bible. Instead, he bundled up again and went outside. I couldn't figure it out because we had already done all the chores. I didn't worry about it long, though. I was too busy wallowing in self-pity. Soon Pa came in. It was cold, clear night out there, with ice on his beard. "Come on, Matt," he said. "Bundle up good, it's cold out tonight." I was really upset then. Not only wasn't I getting the rifle for Christmas, now Pa was dragging me out in the cold, and for no earthly reason that I could see. We'd already done all the chores, and I couldn't think of anything else that needed doing, especially not on a night like this. But I knew Pa was not very patient at one dragging one's feet when he told them to do something. So I got up and put on my boots, and got my cap and coat and my mittens. Ma gave me a mysterious smile as I opened the door to leave the house. Something was up, but I didn't know what. Outside, I became even more dismayed. There in front of the house was the work team, already hitched to the big sled. Whatever it was we were going to do wasn't going to be a sharp, quick little job. I could tell. We never hitched up the sled unless we were going to haul a big load. Pa was already up on the seat, reins in hand. I reluctantly climbed up beside him. The cold was already biting at me. I wasn't happy when I was on. Pa pulled the sled around the house and stopped in front of the woodshed. He got off and I followed. "I think we'll put on the high sideboards," he said. "Help me here." The high sideboards, it had been a bigger job than I wanted to do with just the low sideboards on, but whatever it was we were going to do would be a lot bigger with the high sideboards on. After we had exchanged the sideboards, Pa went into the woodshed and came out with an armful of wood, the wood I'd spent all summer hauling down from the mountain, and then all fall sawing it into blocks and splitting it. What was he doing? Finally I said something. "Pa," I asked, "what are you doing?" "You've been by the Widow Jensen's lately?" he asked. The Widow Jensen lived about 2 miles down the road. Her husband had died a year or so before and left her with 3 children, the oldest being 8. So I'd been by, but so what? "Yeah," I said. "Why?" "I rode by just today," Pa said. Little Jakey was out digging around the woodpile trying to find a few chips. "They're out of wood, Matt." That was all he said, and then he turned and went back into the woodshed for another armload of wood. I followed him. We loaded the sled so high that I began to wonder if the horses would be able to pull it. Finally, Pa called a halt to our loading. Then we went to the smokehouse, and Pa took down a big ham and a side of bacon. He handed them to me and told me to put them in the sled and wait. When he returned, he was carrying a sack of flour over his right shoulder and a smaller sack of something in his left hand. "What's in the little sack?" I asked. "Shoes. They're out of shoes. Little Jakey just got gunny sacks wrapped around his feet when he was out in the woodpile this morning. I got the children a little candy, too. It just wouldn't be Christmas without a little candy." We rode 2 miles to Widow Jensen's pretty much in silence. I tried to think through what Pa was doing. We didn't have much by worldly standards. Of course, we did have a big woodpile, though. Most of what we left now was still in the form of logs that I would have to saw into blocks and split before we could use it. We also had meat and flour, so we could spare that, but I knew we didn't have any money, so why was Pa buying them shoes and candy? Really, why was he doing on any of this? Widow Jensen had closer neighbors than us. Haven't been our concern. We came in the blind side of the Jensen house and unloaded the wood, and quietly as possible, then we took the meat and the flour and the shoes to the door, and we knocked. The door opened a crack, and a timid voice said, "Who is it?" "Lucas Miles, ma'am, and my son Matt. Could we come in for a bit?" Widow Jensen opened the door and let us in. She had a blanket wrapped around her shoulders. The children were wrapped in another and were sitting in front of the fireplace by a very small fire that hardly gave off enough heat for all. Widow Jensen fumbled with a match and finally lit the lamp. "We bought you a few things, ma'am," Pa said, and sat down the sack of flour. I put the meat on the table, then Pa handed her the sack that had the shoes in it. She opened them hesitantly and took the shoes out one pair at a time. There was a pair for her, one for each of her children, sturdy shoes, the best shoes that would last. I watched her carefully. She bit her lower lip to keep it from trembling, and then tears filled her eyes and started running down her cheeks. She looked up at Pa like she wanted to say something, but it wouldn't come out. "We bought a load of wood too, ma'am," Pa said. He turned to me and said, "Matt, go bring in enough that'll last for a while. Let's get that fire up to size and heat this place up." I wasn't the same person when I backed out to bring in the wood. I had a big lump in my throat, and as much as I hate to admit it, there were tears in my eyes, too. In my mind, I kept seeing those 3 kids huddled around that fireplace and their mother standing there with tears running down her cheeks with so much gratitude in her heart that she couldn't speak. My heart swelled with me, and a joy that I'd never known filled my soul. I had given at Christmas many times before, but never when it had made so much of a difference. I could see why we were literally saving the lives of these people. I soon had the fire blazing and everyone's spirits soared. The kids started giggling when Pa handed them each a piece of candy, and Widow Jensen looked on with a smile that probably hadn't crossed her face for a long time. She finally turned to us. "God bless you," she said. "I know the Lord has sent you. The children and I have been praying that He would send one of His angels to spare us." In spite of myself, the lump returned to my throat and the tears welled up in my eyes again. I never thought of Pa in those exact terms, but after the Widow Jensen mentioned, I could see that it was probably true. I was sure that a better man than Pa had never walked the earth. I started remembering all the times he had gone out of his way for Ma and me, and many others. The list seemed endless as I thought on it. Pa insisted that everyone try on the shoes before we left. I was amazed when they'd all fit, and I wondered how he had known what sizes to get. Then I guess that if he was on an errand for the Lord, then the Lord would make sure he got the right sizes. Tears were running down Widow Jensen's face again, and when we stood up to leave, Pa took each of the kids in his big arms and gave them a hug. They clung to him and didn't want us to go. I could see that they missed their Pa, and I was glad that I still had mine. At the door, Pa turned to Widow Jensen and said, "The missus wanted me to invite you and the children over for Christmas dinner tomorrow. The turkey will be more than the three of us can eat, and a man can get pretty cantankerous if he has to eat turkey for too many meals. We'll be by to get you about 11. It'll be nice to have some little ones around again. Matt here hasn't been little for quite a spell. I was the youngest. My 2 brothers and 2 sisters had all married and had moved away." Widow Jensen nodded and said, "Thank you, Brother Miles. I don't have to say, 'May God bless you.' I know for certain that He will." Out on the sled, I felt a warmth that came from deep within, and I didn't even notice the cold. When we had gone our ways, Papa turned to me and said, "Matt, I want you to know something. Your Ma and me had been tucking a little money away here and there all year so we could buy that rifle for you, but we didn't have quite enough. Then yesterday, a man who owed me a little money from years back came by to make things square. Your Ma and me were real excited, thinking that now we could get you that rifle, and I started into town this morning to do just that. But on the way, I saw little Jay out scratching in the woodpile with his feet wrapped in those gunny sacks, and I knew what I had to do, son. I spent the money for shoes and a little candy for those children. I hope you understand." I understood, and my eyes became wet with tears again. I understood very well, and I was so glad Pa had done it. Now the rifle seemed very low on my list of priorities. Pa had given me a lot more. He had given me the look on Widow Jensen's face and the radiant smiles of her 3 children for the rest of my life. Whenever I saw any of the Jensens, I split a block of wood. I remembered, and the remembering brought back the same joy I felt riding home beside Pa that night. Pa had given me much more than a rifle that night. He had given me the best Christmas of my life. Thank you, my friends, for being with me today. I wish each and every one of you a very Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Holidays. May you find peace, love, and joy in your days and with your families and friends and the people around you. And please spread love throughout the season. Take care, and until next time, may God bless. This is Natalie Silva. Greeting cards have all been sent. The Christmas rush is through. But I just had one wish to make, a special one for you. Merry Christmas, darlings. We're apart, that's true. something new. But every day's a holiday when I'm near to you. The lights on my tree, I wish you could see. I wish it every day. The logs on the fire fill me with desire to see you and to say that I wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year too. I just want to wish on this Christmas Eve, I wish I were with you. The logs on the fire fill me with desire to see you and to say that I wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year too. I just want to wish on this Christmas Eve, I wish I were with you. I wish I were with you. Merry Christmas, darlings, and a very Happy New Year. Take care, and may God bless.